And it is updates on the free agent market. We talked about this a lot. At some point, it seemed like the free agent market would never move, but it is moving now. Obviously, Bellinger signed, which is the first big domino to fall, so I think it could lead to some more signings. We've obviously had a lot of news over the weekend, actually. Again, those are going to be that's going to be our segment 4, and we're going to talk about a lot of moves, so be prepared for that. But yeah, I mean, Bellinger signing, I think, opens the floodgates for everyone else to sign. I think it maybe brings Boris back to reality a little bit and seeing, okay, you know what? I'm going to have to get some some short-term deals with these guys and not get the huge paydays they were looking for, maybe next year. But as of right now, it's a no-go. I think it's going to, bring them back to reality, which is good for baseball fans and people who want the market moving. So we're going to start off with the first big free agent of the guys I'm going to talk about, and that is Blake Snell. Blake Snell won the Cy Young last year, 2-time Cy Young winner as well. Had an amazing season with the Padres, of course. I mean, I just said it, he won the Cy Young. So, what's been going on with him is, so first, Jeff Passan said on ESPN that he believes it's probably the Angels or Angels or Yankees, I don't know why I said Twins, sorry about that, for Blake Snell, that's where he's probably going to go. Which we've known that for a little while now. Those are the teams that have been most rumored, so I think it makes a lot of sense. Then Jack Curry, who is one of the most reliable Yankees guys for reporting, rebutted that and said he believes it's Snell to the Yankees unlikely on the spring training broadcast. So that adds a little more to it. So I think it's very interesting to wonder where Blake Snell is going to go. I think you have to look at this point, is he going to take a short-term deal? I think when you have, like Bellinger did as well, of course, when you have the market being as slow as it is for Blake Snell, a guy who just won the Cy Young for crying out loud, I think you have to realize that you may not get the payday you're looking for this year. Now, I think there are a few big reasons why Blake Snell's on the market still. I think the first one is inconsistency. Now, you may be saying, what do you mean inconsistency? He's won 2 Cy Youngs in his career. Yes, that is true, but the other seasons where he hasn't been very good. So that's the problem with him. A season he has is either the best pitcher, he's either the best pitcher in baseball, or he's walking 5 players a game and going 4.5 innings and having a high ERA. So that's the problem with Snell. He's very up and down. You don't really know what you're getting with him on a day-to-day basis. And teams who are looking for a long-term starting pitcher, to give a starting pitcher a huge contract, I don't know if they're going to give it to Snell because of those inconsistencies. When you want to sign a big pitcher to a contract, you want an ace. You want a guy who can go out there every 5 days, you give him the ball, and you're like, okay, you know what, we're going to win today. I feel extremely confident in that because we have our ace on the mound. And I don't know if Blake Snell is that kind of guy just because of the inconsistencies he's had in his career and the ups and downs. You look at guys like Garrett Cole, like Zach Wheeler, guys who got huge starting pitcher contracts and how well they've worked out. When the Phillies and Yankees have go to the mound every 5th day and have Wheeler or Cole on the mound, if you're a fan of that team, you're like, okay, you know what? Today we're going to win. Why are we going to win? Because we have our ace on the mound. We have a guy that we know is going to give us 7 amazing innings, 2 runs or less, something like that. That's an ace in my opinion. And I don't know if Snell, when he's on his game fully, that's him. But when is he on that 24/7 or a full season? Twice he was. But it's such up and down that you don't know if you want to give him that big contract that he's looking for. Also, I think a big problem is he doesn't go very deep into games, even when he did win the Cy Young. He has a lot of pitches, and he does not go very deep into games. Like I was saying, usually it's around 5 innings, 6 if you really want to push it, and that's a problem, especially in this day and age. You want pitchers to go deep. You have deeper bullpens, yes, but a pitcher who he's not giving them a lot of runs, yes, but he's not going very deep into games, which hurts your pitching staff in the long run. So I'm not sure about if teams want to pay a guy with these kind of stipulations that come with him. So I think that's something to watch here. Sorry about this. Quickly, I'm just going to move that. Thank you. Sorry about that. I think that's what you look for with Blake Snell right now, and just why he hasn't gotten the contract he wants, why he's still out there, and why we're hearing the 2 teams we thought all along would sign him. Maybe one of them is out. I think when you look at place he could take a short-term deal, like Cody Bellinger did. I think I would look at three places that have not been mentioned that much. First, I would look at Baltimore. They need another pitcher. They always do. They've shown they're not afraid to spend long-term. They're not afraid to spend. They're not afraid to spend short-term money. That's a lot. That's a good AAV. Like Kimbrel, they signed him for 1 year, $13 million. They traded for Burns, who's on a 1 year contract and owed a good amount of money. So if Blake Snell wants to take a 1 year deal, why not go to the Orioles, a team that won 101 games last year? You can make them the favorites in that division. Try to go for a world championship with them, a team that can definitely win it with the team they have. You ace that pitching staff, you bring that team back to relevancy, and you hit the market next year and get your big payday. I think that can make a lot of sense. They have the money for it. The Phillies make a lot of sense. They've been mentioned with Snell, but they haven't really been wanting to give a long-term contract. They have some pitching problems when you go down the road with them. Taijuan Walker has now lived up to that contract, and I think bringing in Blake Snell could give you probably the best rotation in baseball. I mean, Wheeler, Snell, and Nola, that's just an absolutely insane top three. And if Snell does good, maybe you re-sign him next year and let Wheeler walk if there's some issues with the contract extension. So I think you have to look at that, especially when you're looking at pitching additions for the Phillies. You have to look at, the Zach Wheeler situation next year and, that fact that his contract is up. So I think those make sense. And also the Mariners. We have to mention the Mariners because he is from Seattle, and he reps Seattle very hard in his social media and his personal life. It doesn't make the most baseball sense because they don't really need a pitcher, but I think it makes a lot of sense just because he is from there, and maybe he could get them to trade one of the younger pitchers for a bat if they do bring in Snell. In the end, I do think the Angels give in and get him and sign him to a long-term deal. I think Artie Moreno wants a big splash after losing Ohtani, and I think Snell can be that. They always need pitchers, of course. We know about the Angels, and I think Snell could bring that. He lives in Southern California right now in the offseason, and making a small trip to the ballpark could be of interest to him. So I think in the end he goes to the Angels, but I would not be surprised if it's another team. Jordan Montgomery, the next one here. We know the Rangers aren't signing him. Along with Snell, Jack Curry mentioned he believes the Yankees are unlikely to sign him. We had heard some rumors about that in the offseason, but I always thought that was kind of unlikely just because of the history between the two parties. For Fitz, I think the Cubs make a lot of sense. I don't know how Bellinger re-signing affects them with the financial situation, but I think it makes a lot of sense. They could use another, not ace-level pitcher, but, high-level pitcher in that rotation. I think Montgomery brings that and a lot more depth there as well. The Red Sox, they apparently just met with him on Zoom. We're going to talk about that later as well, more on it, but they've met with him on Zoom. Apparently it went well, according to Peter Gammons, who's a Red Sox writer. So I would look at the Red Sox right now as very deep involved in the Montgomery situation. I mean, I've talked about him a lot. His wife lives in Boston right now, working for a hospital. He is in Boston in the offseason. I think it makes a ton of sense for him to go to Boston. The Giants make sense. They need pitching help, but I don't really think they're going to give him a long-term contract. The Angels make sense. Again, we mentioned them with Snell, so you have to mention with the other big starting pitcher, which is Montgomery. And again, the Phillies, same thing. In the end, I think he goes to the Angels if Snell does not go there. And if Snell does go to the Angels, which I believe he will, I believe he goes to the Red Sox. I think no matter what the Red Sox haven't done this offseason, it just makes too much sense for him not to go there. It just makes so much baseball sense. It makes outside of baseball sense. It really, to me, is just a perfect fit between player and team. And I think the Red Sox eventually give him a long-term contract, a little cheaper than they're probably expecting because of where his market is, which is probably better for them because they're kind of cheap right now. We know this, but I think in the end he goes to the Red Sox, and it's a nice addition for them. Next, we have Matt Chapman. I'm really confused about his market and where he could go. I was convinced he was going to the Giants for a long time, but the Giants then said they probably wouldn't add anyone significant. I don't really know about that. I don't know if that's a play, if that's a ploy for them, or if they really mean it, or they do want Chapman just at a lower price. But yeah, other fits for him. I think the Cubs, you talked about it a little bit before with Bellinger. I think they make a lot of sense for Chapman. I think their lineup is pretty much set, but I think third base is the one position they could upgrade. You have Nick Madrigal, Patrick Wisdom, Christopher Morel. All are fine players, good players, but adding Chapman, I think, would really solidify that and give you a long-term piece. You could then play Morel as kind of a super utility guy who can play all around the field when someone's hurt, fill in a DH as well, and, kind of not have a set spot, kind of play a Whit Merrifield role for the Cubs. And again, Patrick Wisdom and Nick Madrigal, fine players, but I don't know if they're starters on a team that wants to win as much as the Cubs do. Again, the Giants. The Giants, again, make sense. We're going to talk about them a little bit after. The Mariners, they've been mentioned with him. I'm not sure how likely that is just because they did add Jorge Polanco, who had some legitimacy to that third base spot and that infield overall. So I'm not sure about that. But, the Mariners have spent a lot of money after we thought they wouldn't in the offseason, and I think adding a big bat to that lineup like this would be very good for that team, would be very good for them, and I think makes a ton of sense. So if they are willing to spend the big bucks, I think Chapman returning to the West Coast would make some sense. In the end, though, I still really do believe he ends up with the Giants, no matter what Farhan Zaidi says. It just makes too much sense. Bob Melvin, he has this relationship with him. He's from the Bay. He used to play in the Bay. The Giants use a third baseman. It really just makes so much sense to me, and I really do believe he ends up in San Francisco, no matter what Zaidi says and no matter what's going on with that. So I would look still for Chapman and the Giants to be a fit. Maybe I'll get proven wrong, but I really believe he ends up back. I believe he ends up in San Francisco and goes back to the Bay. Finally, JD Martinez. I don't know where JD Martinez is going. I do not know what suitors he has left. I guess the Angels, the Mets, the Tigers even. I really don't know. I think we'll look at these teams just because we have to, because JD Martinez still is on the market. First, the Angels. They could use another big back to that lineup. Martinez wouldn't go far in L.A. He would go from the Dodgers to the Angels. Just, quick drive, different parts of the state. So I think the Angels make some sense. They do have an opening at DH, of course, after Ohtani left. So I think that could make some sense, but I'm not sure if they want to add a one-year deal for a veteran who's going to cost a lot for a team that's probably not going to be competing for a playoff spot. And I don't know if Martinez wants to go to a team that's probably not competing for a playoff spot. So I think that's something to look at. The Mets have been mentioned with him. I think they still want to give looks to Mark Vientos and DJ Stewart at the DH spot. But if both of them really struggle in spring training and Stearns doesn't see much out of them and JD Martinez is still lingering on the market and they can get him at a discount, I think it's possible the Mets pounce on that. But I think if they really want a Martinez with where its market's at, they probably would have gotten him a little while ago. So I wouldn't look at Martinez and the Mets as rather likely. Finally, there were some rumors going around about the Tigers on social media, just some fans speculating. But I wanted to mention it because I thought it was interesting. Obviously, he played for the Tigers for a long time, so it'll be homecoming for him. The Tigers are trying to win. I think we've seen that with their offseason moves. Jack Flaherty debuted with the Tigers today, had a good start as well, so that's something to mention here, I guess. But yeah, maybe they don't think Kerry Carpenter's ready to step up in that full-time DH role. Needs a little bit more seasoning either on the bench or in the minor leagues. You add JD Martinez, you add a legitimate middle league order bat to that lineup. I think it can make a lot of sense, and Martinez maybe wants to come back to Detroit, maybe enjoyed it there, and wants to have a nice homecoming. So I think definitely that's something that could happen. It's kind of pure speculation right now, but I think looking at Martinez, we have to have pure speculation because I really don't know where he's going to go right now. I'm very perplexed at what his suitors are and where he is going to end up going. So yeah, that's our second segment, just talking about updates on the other free agents on the market after Bellinger left. We're gonna go to our third segment here, which is going to be talking about some spring training stories, some stuff that happened over the weekend and before I started this show as well today. So yeah, we're gonna talk about that, and we'll go to a break, but then we'll go to our segment 3. So thanks.